Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi ta'ala barakatuh. Alhamdulillah. Alhamdulillah Rabbil Alamin. Wassalatu wassalamu ala syarfil anbiya wal mursalin wa ala alihi wa sahbihi ajma'in. Alhamdulillah, we're continuing our training program for our life coach. You are all invited to join our online training program. Go to our our website islamicspsychology.net and you can download the whole book, Positive Islamic Psychology, inshallah in 1 month's time, the whole book. And based on that book, we are training you to become life coach and also to help the ummah. So we have covered the 8 challenges roughly, but we are going to go into detail because the 8 challenges that we are talking about, the challenges of atheism, anxiety and youth, depression and youth, suicide and youth, pornography addiction and youth, teenage pregnancy and youth, drug addiction, alcohol addiction and youth, video games addiction, and then other challenges in terms of the existential question of the nature of human existence in the 21st and 22nd century. So these are basic issues that the Ummah will have to face, and unfortunately our Islamic traditional educational system, whether it's our madrasah system, our Islamic universities, or even our social institution, are not prepared to tackle the existential question of the Ummah in the 21st century. How this Ummah is going to survive, not only survive, thrive and become an excellent Ummah that can then bring about a change in terms of we, the 1.7 or 1.8 billion Muslims in the world, that we can propound our deen and help others who are now becoming atheists. Because the dominant worldview that is now growing very, very fast is not Christianity, it's not Hinduism, it's not Buddhism, it's not Islam. It is atheistic, atheistic, materialistic philosophy based on a mechanical existence of human beings. So we have to answer that in very great detail, and it's very important for me, inshallah, and for all our Muslim institutions to train our young people who are going to confront this challenge every day of their life. So how are they going to handle the challenge? They go to school, their friends are all atheists. Alright? If they are believing in any God, it's also just a nominal belief. So how are you going to face them? So we are preparing the ground, and I'm giving you some training on how we are going to handle atheism over a series of videos, so that if you become a life coach, you have Muslims who are being influenced to become atheists, you can help them through nurturing, coaching, mentoring and counseling. It's not that we're going to force them to believe in Allah, because there is no compulsion in Islam. La ikrata fid din, there is no compulsion in believing in Allah. But it is important for us to be able to help change or shape their worldview, because Islam is a truth. That's as simple as that. Atheism is false. So how are we going to tackle that? This is where, over the series of videos, I'm going to give you some preamble to the philosophy itself and how we can understand in terms of the challenges that we're going to face. So atheism, the first 100 years, branches of sciences endeavor based on their principles of scientific atheism. So the premise now is, for you to become a scientist, you must be an atheist. That's what you find in a lot of institutions. In fact, for example, if you want to become a professor in some of these universities, you must show that you are not believing in God, as if that would be the prerequisite for you to become a professor, which is ridiculous. They say there is free speech, but there is no freedom in terms of belief, even in the universities, because if you want to become a microbiologist, you want to become a neurologist, you want to become a physician, even a doctor, you must have this idea of not believing in God, because then if you believe in God, it is contradictory to the sciences of today, which is, again, it is just a premise based on some ideological conflict that has happened over the last 300-400 years. So what they do is, basically, an atheist is a person who disbelieves in God. Atheism in general has a critique in terms of the metaphysical world. That means everything is material, there's nothing beyond this material world. Alright? And the origin of this materialistic atheism is based on the 17th century, where you have atheism being developed through the philosophy of Cartesianism, Newtonianism and Kantian. Immanuel Kant, this German philosopher in the 17th century. So in Cartesianism, everything is just based on the philosophy of something that is social, something that is philosophical. There is no need for God, because it is everything is material. Newtonian is the physics of Newton. Newton is a great genius, yes. He is a believer in God, but then his philosophy in terms of after him, there are people who use Newtonian physics, all right, as a basis of atheism, all right, that human beings are mechanical beings without purpose. And Immanuel Kant is the philosopher who questioned the existence of God. So everything that you have in this world is just based on the philosophical idea of a rational being, and a rational being must be one who is free from God, because you cannot explain the metaphysical world, you cannot explain the spiritual world, so it's best for us not to discuss with it or disown it. So even though Immanuel Kant in his own lifetime, he has not disowned the realm of the metaphysics, but because of the philosophical framework that he developed, it became a very dominant worldview of the atheists in the 18th century. So Kantianism becomes the father or the godfather of atheism, because the philosophical framework is just based on rational, and rationality and morality is everything based on the human existence in terms of being a social animal. All right, so there is no right or wrong. All right or wrong are just based on human experience in terms of sociology. There is no revelation. That means there is no morality. Morality is neutral. All right, and because of that, this has grown up to become the 19th, 20th, 21st century mode of thinking, especially for the educated. And that's why the universities throughout the world are all controlled in the way now by atheists. All right, so we Muslims will have to go there and study. I mean, how can you not go and study? Like my daughter, she graduated from Australia in psychology. She has to have a professors, all right, and most of them don't believe in God. So how is she going to maintain unless she have a strong defense in terms of putting the reality that man is not just a physical being? So because we do not know God, so we don't factor that in our calculation. That's Kantian epistemology. So what we need to do is basically we got to go back to this idea that if we want to understand this world, we must understand the world from the perspective of the nature of our being beyond the physical existence, because the whole epistemology of Kantianism as well as atheism is based that we are material things, and material things only need material solution to it. So we are a physical being, and we can only resolve within the realm of the physical existence. That means if you talk about psychology, it's the brain. The brain makes all the decision, and that's it. So whether it is moral or not moral, it is not coming from the realm of the creator. So once you divorce creator from your existence, that's what is all atheism is about. But if you talk that we are all material, there's a lot of things that atheism could not answer. For example, they say, okay, our physical body. If we take our physical body, yes, we have a physical body. What is our physical body? Oh, yes, your physical body is created out of molecules from that makes your organs. You get molecules, you get peptide, you get protein. Out of protein, you get other molecules. Then you go back, you get the elemental, all right, the periodic table of all the elements of the earth, all right, whether it's calcium, potassium, sodium, hydrogen, oxygen. Then you get water and so on. And then from there you get atoms, and you go there, you get subatomic atoms. But what then? So this physical body is 99.99999% empty. They can only answer for the 5%. That is, we say we have understood that we are influenced by electromagnetic. The wave is electromagnetic. We have gravity. We have weak nuclear force and strong nuclear force that's affecting our existence in terms of the physical world. That is only constitute 5%. 95% is empty. They call it empty space, but it's not empty. It is dark energy or dark matter. And you can ask them, what is dark energy or dark matter? Oh, we don't know. Can you discount the 95% of dark energy or dark matter? Because that constitutes your reality. So if we go backward into the nature of our existence itself, our physical existence is actually immaterial. We are going into another realm that is very close to the metaphysical world. So what is important is for we Muslims to understand and be able to then deflect or maybe have a good discussion with the atheists. We are not saying that the atheists, we're going to curse and swear at them. No, we can have a good discussion, and for them, they want to believe in atheism without any rationality. That's their problem, because in Islam, it's got lakum dinukum waliyadin, for you, your path, for me, mine. But we have very strong evidence that we are a created being, a logical created being, a conscious created being, who are created to realize the grandeur of the Creator, and this whole purpose and meaning is within the framework of Islam, Iman and Ihsan, which when we relate together, we'll understand that Allah is the absolute Creator, and we can then defend Islam from atheism in whatever scientific ways. So that I'll play around a few of these videos by some prominent people, and then you can use this as a defense, because there's no point arguing. You have somebody who is very deep in atheism, just like in the time of the Prophet, there are atheists. In the time of the great Alim, for example, in time of Al-Imam Ghazali, he always have debates with these atheists. So we have atheists of the old days, atheists in the 18th century, atheists in the 21st century, but the atheists of the 21st century are the virulent, aggressive atheists who think they know everything about existence. Yet their whole thinking is flawed, is a fallacy, it is falsehood. So it is important for us, in the defense of Islam, master the need for understanding atheism and be able to refute them in a beautiful, scientific manner that inshallah can be accepted for all those who believe in God. And inshallah, in that process also will prevent our young Muslims and Muslimah being influenced by atheism in the future, inshallah.